Hello everyone, I am Damla. I am a crystal healing teacher, an inner child energetic wound healer, and an inner child intuitive reader and an astrologer. Today I will talk to you about how crystal healing can show you to deepen your positive look towards your body as well as yourself. So crystal healing for body positivity as well as for self-love. So my journey with crystals began around 2012. I wasn't someone who was drawn to crystals or who collected crystals throughout their childhood. In fact, I had an engineering degree and then I had my MBA. I was very busy in the business world, and I had no idea that they existed, to be perfectly honest with you. And my healing journey took me through a couple evolutions, but in 2012, I gave birth through an emergency C-section to my beautiful crystal child daughter. And at that point, I had already gotten myself I was practicing yoga, I was teaching yoga full time, I was managing a yoga studio, so yoga was my life. But I hadn't quite reached out to the realm of the energetics. In 2013, between 2012 and 13, I found myself going deeper and deeper into this deep well of darkness, which I now know was all my energetic wounds and unresolved trauma coming up to play, as you know how that happens. And I found myself at a place where nothing I knew worked. Nothing I knew from the yoga tradition. I couldn't meditate. In fact, my body was very strange to me. I couldn't connect with my body, which I was very, very used to as a yogini. And I was getting desperate. Here was this light child in my hands in front of me, and I wasn't able to connect with myself and be there for her in the way that I wanted to be. So I opened it up to the universe and I said, just whatever it is that you feel, my guidance, divine source, whatever you call it, I just called it, the love out there. Just tell me what to do. And that's when crystals and crystal healing came into my life. I just came across a YouTube video about them, and then I got myself a bunch of crystals. I started to experiment. In the first couple of months of this, I was a new mom. I was nursing 24/7. I had zero time to sit down and read about the advice out there. And when I tried to do that in the small moments, I found contradictory advice. I found things that didn't make sense to me. So I decided to do it my way. In the small moments that I could find, I would just go to my healing room, this room. I would close the door. I would just lie down with the crystals by myself and just see what happens. And just intuitively, again, I would place them on or around my chakras. The chakra system was something I knew from my yoga years. And I began to notice these small shifts. I would come in to the meditation, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever I could squeeze, and then I would leave just a little bit better and a little bit better. And I started to do this more and more often. What came next was I started to experiment on my family members. I offered a crystal healing to my mother-in-law, who came out with tears streaming from her eyes, but not like sad tears, but relief tears. And she was hearing music that I wasn't playing. I had actually just on the spot devised a meditation for her with the crystals, and she was like a completely different person from before to after. So that's sort of how I was dropped into this journey. And the teaching part came when I started to offer crystal healing workshops in the community that I'm in. I started to offer crystal healing meditations to 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, teens, to adults. People would come in, like they would come in. I had like a dad and a daughter come in, a teenage daughter, or couples would come in. Anyways, I had all sorts of different groups of ages and groups of people coming into these workshops. And I did not tell these people where to place their crystals. I did not tell, I would, bring a whole bunch of crystals, but I wouldn't tell them which ones to pick. And all of them, so this was my sample group, if you will, my engineering mind at work, you could see the difference in their posture, in their faces. So the crystals and the crystal realm was doing something. And I began to get questions like, okay, Damla, I have this and this issue. What crystals do I need to partner with? I have, or where do I place them, and this and that. And those questions opened up my exploration into understanding this thing that I was experiencing intuitively, that I was knowing in my body, that crystals are affecting my physicality, but they're affecting more than that. I began to sink and deeper into this. So the very first thing I discovered was, the first question I asked was, what the heck are crystals? What are crystals? So they are these physical structures, their molecules repeat, and they have certain characteristics. For instance, with a quartz crystal like this, you can create an electrical charge. You can touch it and create a piezoelectric charge, which means that your touch is changing the molecules in the crystal because of their uniformity and the geometrical perfection. They're able to relay that charge and effect all the way to the other side of the crystals. And as I was looking into this, I came across this information that our bodies, specifically the fascia that holds all our tissues and muscles and bones together, is piezoelectric. In fact, there are theories that say that this explains how the Chinese meridians or the acupuncture system works, as well as how, if you're familiar with it, there's another system called emotional freedom technique or tapping, that you create a piezoelectric charge through tapping in your body that then gets relayed to the entire body through those energetic pathways and highways in your body. So I was like, that's interesting. Crystals are piezoelectric. My body is piezoelectric. What else do we have in common? I soon came to the conclusion that, because that's what I had been seeing in my own healings as well as in the group workshops that I was holding, they don't just get activated by touch, they also get activated by intention. And the way that I explain that is, let's say someone calls you, someone you don't like. As soon as you pick up the phone, your body is going to get constricted if it's someone you don't really want to talk to. Versus if it's someone you love and you love talking to, as soon as you pick up the phone, your body is going to get expanded. Similarly, when you connect with a crystal through your loving intention, they are able to receive that intention. And my experience is that they're able to amplify it. And we have similar properties to that. With the main difference being, crystals are, how should I put it? We are liquid crystalline beings and structures. Our DNA is a liquid crystal. The water in our body, you could say, is a liquid crystal. Our plasma, which is another state of water, is liquid crystalline. So in comparison to the solid structures of crystals, we go in and out of chaos more easily. We tend to, how should I put it, our pathways can get blocked easier. Whereas when you hold the crystals, they are a beautiful reminder to your system of that, the efficiency of the structure. And they can, through your common intention, get your system into efficiency as well. So I mentioned it a little bit earlier. The other thing that the crystals do very, very beautifully is they take in information, they cohere it, and then they can amplify it or they can laser focus it, which is why ruby crystals in particular are used in laser technology. And I was like, that's interesting. And I went back to my experiences with crystals. Here I was, not feeling like myself as a new mom. Like my body had changed considerably. I couldn't understand and yet alone be in my body. Here I was sitting and lying down with crystals and feeling better afterwards. And what I came to understand is that as I was laying down with crystals, I was beaming love to them. I mean, I loved holding them. That's the other thing I discovered. Yes, I didn't have this journey as a child, but the moment I discovered them in my 30s, it was like, wow, they're beautiful, they're wonderful to hold. And that's what I was observing in my 5-year-old students too. They just loved crystals. And at a time when it was really difficult for me to love my body, I was projecting this love onto them, onto these beautiful structures. And they were, in fact, cohering it, strengthening that signal, and not only dispersing it, expanding it towards me, but also as I moved my gaze from place to place in my body, I was able to laser beam that focus of love into my body. So that's the first understanding, that we are very, very similar. We are crystalline beings, and the crystals are crystalline structures. If calling them beings is too far out of the left field for you, you can think of us as similar in structures. And then the next realization this led to me was, okay, so if we are so similar, how do I think about crystals? Like, how do I think about our relationship to them? And if I break it down, our bones are 65% or more minerals. Like I mentioned, our fascia is crystalline, our DNA, each and every molecule in our body is crystalline. So we are made up of crystals. And the majority of the crystals that you hold in your hand is a lot older than you. They have been around for millennia. And even if they're not as old, through their morphic fields, through their species energy fields, they're connected to each and every crystal in the realm of possibility, in the multiverse. So that sort of led me to understanding that they are our ancestors. They are the building blocks of the multiverse as well as us. And anything that contributes to your life essence, or your life spark, your body, is an ancestor. And not only that, we are closely related. We're made up of the similar, very, very similar structures, just in different velocity. They are slower, we're a little bit faster, but not too much. So we have a lot to learn from each other. We can learn we can get inspired by their patience, by their wisdom, by their longer view, and they get inspired by our spontaneity, by our quick learning and adapting, and our infinite potential for adaptation and expansion. So that sort of led me to understand, okay, if I am this being, in this three-dimensional structure, if I am this being that is made up of, three-dimensional structures that are very, very similar to crystals, what can I glean from crystals, and how can I look at my body to see what is possible, to see what else might be possible that is a lot less constrictive and a lot more expanded. And the main thing there is crystals just are. They are. They are not positive or negative. They're very neutral. They just are. And that to me was one of the biggest lessons in learning to understand that. Okay, so this thing that I call my body when I look in my mirror is actually a whole lot more than just my facial features or the social conditioning or any stories I might have in my head. I am, and you are an integral part of the universe. You are in your crystalline structure connected to each and every crystal. You are in your crystalline structure connected through the morphic fields of the human species, each and every human in the earth. You are through your DNA, another crystalline structure connected to each and every being, each and every plant, animal, and amoeba that exists in the multiverse. So, wow. So who you are suddenly has become a lot more than just flesh and bone. Because in the crystalline realm that lives in you, there is infinite information and there is infinite wisdom. That is a lot different than saying, oh, this part of my body I don't like. Or this part of my body I would like to change, versus saying this sacred structure that I have chosen to manifest or to MapQuest and GPS my non-physical reality into. How beautiful is that? How wonderful is that? I'm going to take this a little bit further, because there's, of course, once you start asking questions in this realm, there is always the next question and the next question. And the next question for me was, as a healer, as a teacher, so what is in that structure then? So we have the crystalline, pathways in us, which was very, very surprising to me. I used to teach this meditation to 5-year-olds, where I would have them hold a crystal, any crystal, in their hands, and I would say, okay, close your eyes and imagine yourself getting like a little tiny person, and then you can walk into the crystal and you can look around and tell me what you see. And all of them would see colors. A lot of them would see geometric structures. They would see rainbows of colors, different shapes, different structures in there, which to me was like, okay, this is an innate knowledge that we all have, because I didn't teach these kids. I mean, they're 5-year-olds. They could hardly sit still. I didn't teach them anything about molecular structures of the repeating molecules of the crystals, but they just knew. Their innate knowingness came from that relationship we have. We are kin, we're brothers and sisters with the crystals. So it was very, very natural to them to go into the crystalline structure and say, oh yeah, geometric structures, color, light, beauty. And in the same way, how would your experience of your body would change if you realize that you're a crystal? If you were able to go into your body knowing that there are archways in there are sacred temples in there, there are beautiful geometric structures in there, how would that change your relationship to your body? And that's the question I would love for you to sit with. So again, I was like, okay, so we have the geometric structures, very similar, although more higher in velocities, the more liquid part of the crystalline realm that we are. But what is in them though? What is What is in between the crystalline structures of the DNA? What is in between our bones? What the heck is there? And my question was answered in 2022, right before I went on a pilgrimage. I had a dream where I saw myself standing at nighttime by the Great Pyramid. And I was looking at the night sky in the dream. And as I look at the night sky, I see millions and billions and trillions of beautiful stars. I can't help but look. And there are people passing me by, and I'm like, look at this beauty, look at this amazingness. And some of them just pass me by, and some of them stop by and look at the stars with me. And I woke up knowing that I was looking at the inner realm inside the body, the inner night sky. And I also woke up knowing, that was the other thing that my crystal healing journey led me to, was I was getting into this realm of inner children more and more with my clients and in my own healing journeys. I just knew that I was looking at the inner sparks of the inner children. And of course, to me, the Great Pyramid is the epitome of a sacred geometric structure. So to me, that represented the crystalline realm that we have inside. And my question was answered in the sense that, like, in between the sacred geometry, you have the quantum realm. And in the quantum realm, at any point in your time, whether it's this lifetime, past, parallel, future lives, any other realms or galaxies or beings that you were, whatever it is, each and every moment, through light and love potential, lives in you, in your DNA, in your bones, in your crystalline structure, in the in-between spaces. So I'm gonna breathe with that and with you for a moment. And let's explore what that means. So what that means is that when you're going through your life journey, let's just focus on this particular lifetime, you run into what I call energetic wounds, things that leave a wound and an energetic mark in your body and in your energy system. What I was shown was in the night sky, yes, you might have clouds coming over it, the energetic wounds. The spark, when it's not safe, gets hidden. The potential gets hidden, but it's still there. So I came to understand that not only are we never broken, we at any point have the capacity to bring out that light and bring out that love potential in us. And I also came to understand that these structures that we call crystalline or crystals are extremely efficient holders of love. And that brings me to the self-love portion of this, because you got to understand that underneath the molecules, underneath the cells, underneath the atoms and the subatomic particles, and underneath that, all the way down to the now speculated string theory, the vibrating, motions of light coming in and out of potentiality and in that probability cloud. What that potentiality is love. And that's what you are. And that's what I call my business and my website, a drop of Om. Om symbolizing that vibrational essence that we all have underneath everything. That is the commonality with all beings and all things everywhere. And we're all drops of Om, swimming in a sea of Om. And later, I was lucky enough in 2022, December, to visit Egypt in person. And I got to stand by the Great Pyramid at nighttime and look at the stars. And I got to journey into the Great Pyramid, into the Great King's Chamber, which is another like sacred geometry wonder, but that's another story that I'm not going to go into. But what that taught me was, okay, so we are these crystalline structures with infinite potential, infinite love hidden inside. And what Egypt showed me was, as I stepped on the temples, as I stepped into the Great Pyramid, as I stepped just on the land, I saw the pyramids and I began to cry. It was just so evident to me that not only that we are loved, but we are surrounded by love. And in a place like Egypt, where the veil is thin and the noise is less, and the structures, those geometric, beautiful structures that represent our inner temple, inner sacredness, is just so beautifully laid out for you. It's undeniable. It's undeniable and inevitable to feel that love, the love of Mother Gaia, of the crystalline realms, of the all realms that surrounds you. So in that way, where do I want to go with this now? So in that way, when you understand who and what you are is an integral part of this universe and multiverse, as a unique expression of your soul in this physical crystalline body that sort of projects your non-physical essence into the here and now, which is needed, which is wanted, which is what your soul and soul helpers and soul team wanted you to be here. If you weren't needed, you wouldn't be here. And through your being here, you're contributing something to that infinitely connected essence of the love around you. So that takes self-love and body positivity to a whole new other level. It's not just superficial. It's more like it just is. I mean, your body is a sacred geometric temple that's made up of crystalline essences and structures. So when you begin to look at it that way, as well as understand, okay, you're a conductor of the love that you receive. You ground the non-local love into the here and now through your heart, through what you're drawn to lovingly, through your beautiful loving essence. It becomes easier to understand that the question isn't, how do I love myself? The question is more like, how could I ever not loved myself? It's like when you understand the grandness of your being. I mean, not just like for the sake of grandness, but just the importance and the beauty and the sacredness and the connectedness. When you understand that, it's like, how could I have ever thought that I was ever less than? How could I have ever looked at this body temple and criticized something? How could I have ever looked at any discomfort, any trauma, any struggle in my body and not seen it anything other than a messenger showing me where my biggest hidden inner child and love potential is? So I'm going to say that again. When you look at all the mind stuff, all the distortions, everything, as well as all the discomfort, unease, even pain, anything that's going on in your body, if you begin to look at it not as who you are, because it's not who you are. Who you are is this beautiful love essence. But if you look at it as indications of, if you begin to part those clouds in that heart, in that throat, in that knee, that's where your biggest inner child potential is, biggest connection, love, creativity, abundance potential is. That changes your approach towards your crystalline body a whole lot. Okay. So I'm like throwing at you a lot, but feel free to breathe and come back to this if you need to. And again, this has been my discovery journey. You may listen to this and you may tell me like, Damla, this doesn't make sense to me. And that's more than welcome. You are more than welcome to take in what resonates and speaks to you, and leave out the rest. Just take what speaks to you, what sort of brings expansion to your heart. So let's come back to the crystal healing for body positivity and self-love. I would say that, and I have been experimenting with this again and offering healings for years and years, and the majority of the last 6 to 7 years in the inner child crystal healing realm. Crystals are, remember that part where I told you, you give them an intention, and then they take it, they make it more efficient, coherent, and then they can like expand it into your whole body, or they can crystallize it and laser focus it to a certain point. And to me, yes, that expansion, that feeling of love in your body and in your system is wonderful, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I go nap with my crystals all the time and meditate with my crystals all the time. But in terms of like, if there's something that is really like an issue for you, something about your face, something about your body, something about your belly, that you feel like every time you look into the mirror, it's an issue. So that would be the perfect place to go to your favorite crystal and then say, okay, look, I'm going to offer you all this love, and I'm going to ask my guidance to pour in me and into my crystals all this love. And I'm going to ask this love to be made even stronger and more efficient and effective going through the crystals as well as my crystalline body. And I would love for this love to get and laser focus, like shooting a laser beam into the cloud of where trauma lives in my body, where my limitations are for deeper self-love, where my limitations are for deeper body positivity, for really, truly loving my body and myself. And that's where crystal healing comes in handy, where it can be like going into right where it is needed. And if you don't know where that place is, and this is something I help with my clients during our private sessions to locate, because that's another skill that we lose. We lose our connection to this temple, the sacred geometry temple. You can simply say, like, let it go wherever it needs to go. If you're someone who's spend a lot of time with your body and you already have a connection with your inner children's realm, inner crystalline realm, and you know exactly like the left portion of the upper side of my heart and the top of it and a little bit back, and that's where the beam needs to go, and you can send the beam there. And you might be amazed at how effective, how beautiful sending that beam of love might be. And that is just one way of being and healing with the crystalline realm. So I'm going to finish up with just one more little tidbit. And again, I encourage you to stay with or be with what we've been talking about, feel into it, see where this conversation highlights in your body. As I'm talking about energetic wounds, as I'm talking about the beam, you can sort of feel into, okay, like this part of my shoulder is really speaking to me right now. And that's your inner children, the potentials of inner children talking. And that's where they need a little bit more love and nourishment. So I would definitely send the beam of light through the crystals there. So let's talk about my pet peeve, which is I never ever ever say use crystals. I've never said it. I mean, I hope you can go back to my like initial interviews when I first started this since 2012. But my pet peeve is I don't like the word use when it comes to crystals. Here's why. If we consider them as our kin, our ancestors, our relatives, as our very, very close relatives, as our elders, because they tend to live a lot longer than us. And as kin, we are similar geometric structures. We seem to have similar piezoelectric properties, as well as intentional transmission of love and amplification of our intentions. So you don't approach another being and say, another being that you're just meeting, and say, okay, what are you good for? Tell me how hard or soft you are. Give me all your geological properties. How much of a conductor of electricity are you? So how efficient are you in helping me? Me. What can you do for me? What can I use you for? That's not what you say. If you and I were to meet, we would greet each other. I would say, hi, I'm Damla, and you would perhaps say your name. And then we would start a conversation. And in that conversation, there's also an electrical, vibrational conversation going on. So we're sort of feeling into each other. We're assessing each other. And then if our energies match, there's going to be a deeper flow of energy back and forth. I call that love. I call that lovingly connecting with a crystal, not using a crystal, not saying you as a crystal can only go here, and here, nowhere else. You can only be used for this and this and this, because remember, they're connected to wisdom across timelines, lifetimes in the entire multiverse, and they're connected to each and every other crystal and being. So there's so much more than that. And in fact, I am offering a free gift to you, which is a free mini course. It's an email course, but I have 3 to 5 minute videos in there that I recorded at some point. It goes into all the crystal healing myths. How can we, if we don't use them, how can we connect with them? Again, the answer of that is love. Love, respect, curiosity, that's how we connect with them. And then I'm exploring a few things like, do you need a small crystal? Do you need a big crystal? How many crystals do you need? And my favorite, how do you create crystal healing magic? That's very, very important. What are the components of crystal healing magic? So if you're interested in that, you can find the link here. Again, it's called Crystal Healing Myths Mini Course. I would love for you to check that out. My website and social media information is down there too. It's pretty simple. adropofom.com, adropofom.com. And you can find me as A Drop of Om on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So I would love to connect with you. If this spoke to you in any way, please drop me a message. Let me know what part spoke to you. Let me know what you may have felt in your body specifically. And I leave you with this one piece, which is you are love, surrounded by love, and love is all there is. Thank you so much.